are two fun friends diving deep into conversations where nothing is taboo. They believe in eating dessert before dinner and wearing the bikini. They're allergic to labels, authority, and cheap shoes. Currently, they're launching themselves through life being the good time, bold enough to take risks and inquisitively asking, what's next? They hail from New Hampshire, but they could be anywhere dressed in cute clothes. If they had to share a tombstone, it would read, "Curiosity killed these cats." Your hosts, Lisa and Robyn, on the mic.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Lisa and Robyn on the mic. You are listening on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. You can watch, stream, and listen on WSMN.live, Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify. Welcome back to the second hour. We are talking about being your whole self as you're going about through the world. And we are reading from one of the Stoic books, The Art of Living. And should I pick up where we were?
Oh yeah, and I want you to read that other one too.
Okay. So this is consider what comes first, then what follows, then act. By considering the big picture, you distinguish yourself from the mere dabbler, the person who plays a thing as long as they feel comfortable and interesting. This is not noble. Think things through and fully commit. Otherwise, you will be like a child who sometimes pretend he or she is a wrestler, and sometimes a soldier, and sometimes a musician, and sometimes an actor in tragedy. Unless we fully give ourselves over to our endeavors, we are hollow, superficial people, and we never develop our natural gifts. I thought that one hurt. That one felt particularly hurtful.
Well, maybe what I was trying to say earlier is sometimes it's easier to go. Sometimes it takes us a while to give ourselves permission to go all in.
Yes.
So there's no right or wrong. There's some people that are just, there's that determination and that strength in them that says, yeah, I'm going to do it and I'm going to commit. Like good, bad, ugly, or whatever. And I just think that sometimes I think we get caught up in our own head and don't give ourselves permission. Like we think about it and you think about it.
Oh, we think we're not allowed to, but we don't realize the only person not allowing us to is us.
Yes. The only person truly standing in our way is us.
So the
in
part,
most things.
Yeah, the part that I found like almost like a little slash was, are you pretending to be? Today, are you pretending to be a soldier? Today, are you pretending to be a whatever? Today, are you pretending to be all these different things? And it's like, ooh, I don't know why that one felt like a vicious
See, I didn't see
attack.
I didn't see it that way. I mean, I can see it that way. I didn't feel it that way. I was thinking because I've been a nanny. I have been a paralegal. I mean, I never worked as a paralegal, but I got my paralegal license in Massachusetts when I was a nanny on the Cape. And, I was a dental assistant. I've been a phlebotomist. Now I'm doing radio. I play around with boudoir photography. I do all kinds of things. And I'm like, I don't ever feel like I've pretended to be. I think I was allowing. So, I don't know.
Or trying it on.
Yes.
Maybe you're trying.
Dipping my toe out. Like, hey, this. But I do. I did if you do the muscle test and, feeling like, yeah, this feels right. I'm going to go down this way. And so I like to try to perceive it as being curious.
So then how do you get past the part of every endeavor where you're in the thick of it and it's no longer feeling good and fun? How do you get past that if you're always using that test of it feeling good? Because I will often start and do things and then you're like, oh yeah, that was exciting right up until there's this hard thing that I either have to figure out or overcome or learn a new skill. And then that decidedly feels discomfort, very uncomfortable. The discomfort could make me stop.
I guess I feel like, why am I feeling this way? Am I disenchanted? Is this no longer serving me? Is this no longer nourishing me? Is this, and I think then you just start going in that direction of, but I think what we have is like, well, we gave our word, we gave our commitment, I gave this. But if it's not serving you, like, we're only punishing ourselves the longer that we stay in it. And like, if we are growing and evolving every year to do it, old things don't serve us. Old things don't serve us, and that's not who I am anymore. That's not who I was anymore. And so it served being able to look at maybe I wasn't meant to be just one thing my whole life.
I agree with that 100%. Actually, because when you're young, you have ideas what things are, but you don't know what things are.
Right.
And I couldn't, neither one of us could have possibly known at 18 that would be sitting here.
Right. I couldn't even have dreamt it.
Right. In a million years, this wasn't on the radar. So, you don't know what you don't know. I get that. But in every endeavor that I take, there is some piece of it that this is no longer fun. I remember I was talking to someone who was business, and we were talking about how right now, for me, real estate is not fun. And it hasn't been fun for a little while because there are so many obstacles. The price point for people. Because one thing that people talk about all the time is, well, there's just no inventory, so everyone has to pay these high prices. But the answer is they can't afford the prices.
Right.
The reason why Apple allows you to take their phone and divide it over 12 months at the Verizon store is because most people wouldn't then spend another $1,200 on a phone when their phone kind of almost works fine.
Right.
Or they would get another phone. Right. You have to make your product available to the consumer who's purchasing it. And at this point, you can say, okay, home ownership is out of range for people because the prices are getting too high, but rent is also getting to a point. So something's going to happen.
Yeah.
You
Something's
don't have
gonna
those,
have to happen.
Something has to happen. And to me, it's not fun when people can no longer afford to buy houses or rent houses.
Right.
That economically something's happening. There isn't the whatever that law is, that would be like the ocean settle at a particular.
But real estate's such
It's
a volatile career
is.
to have. Like
It's unbelievably volatile. No one ever talks about that. No one talks about it. It's so volatile.
And it's so, it's just even learning just from you and a lot of people that are in real estate, man, they get the brunt of a lot of people's, like, they are so
anger.
Yes.
There was an article in Forbes, and then CNN reprinted it, that said real estate agents' commissions were the reason why property values were out of reach for the average American. Such a bold-faced lie.
I know, because somebody said to me, like, average real estate agents will make like $15,000 a year.
Yeah, because a lot of people do it part-time. They're doing it, so they're also bringing an average down. But there are years that I make less than half of what I made the year before.
Yeah.
So to have your income go up and down, either double or halve.
Yeah.
Could you live that way successfully?
Right.
If you would have to live on the lower half.
Yes.
And so people, and I've been doing it 21 years, and it's not that, I do have a heavy investor clientele. So they're not buying when investments don't make sense, and investments haven't made sense all of 22, all of 23. I mean, we've been able to buy some stuff that makes sense for them, but the volume on par is not where it was.
But even though you now feel like it's kind of stale, and you feel like you're at that thing.
I'm at that point where it's not fun.
Right.
So the thing that makes me continue through it is I've been doing it this way. It often gets not fun when the market gets too high or too low. When the market's so low that when you have people telling you they'll buy anything as long as it's this price, and you call them and you say, I have 5 things, buy one of them, and they can't buy one. Right. Because what everyone thinks is, I can't wait for the market to crash because I'm going to buy real estate then. Well, a lot of people, your economic environment changes too when the economy is doing terrible. Yes. Maybe the business that you have that affords you all the down payment money for this is also doing bad. Right. So I think, yes, some people sell high and buy low.
But I think that you ask yourself better questions. Like, okay, it's not fun right now, but do I enjoy it long term when the machine is well oiled and back up and running, and it's, you're on smoother ground? Is it still something that you want to do?
Yep.
So I think that a lot of times we don't ask ourselves that question. Like, is it still, like, is it serving me? Well, it's not serving me right now. It's not, I'm in a,
But then I always go back to,
I'm in a mud puddle right now.
what can I do so that I don't feel that the dread piece of it? Because what happens is you're doing the thing that always worked before that was successful, and then that changes.
So what do? You got
to go back to, okay, what are my problems today? So there's always different real estate is organic, and there's always a different problem going on. So right now, before it was inventory is really the problem. We didn't have enough things for the amount of people who buy. Now there's more inventory, but the amount of people who can afford it are down.
Yeah.
So now it's talking to 15 different lenders to find out who's got the best programs, to find out, does this person financially qualify for a veteran program or first-time home buyer, or like trying to get them into something. Right. So now it's not calling to try to get more inventory because there wasn't more inventory, because we have inventory now.
Trying to qualify people.
Now you're trying to qualify people to buy the inventory that is there.
But are the banks kind of letting up at all a little bit? But seeing, like, are prices starting to come down a little bit? Or
in some areas, like I've had 2 listings and I've had 2 price reductions, and that has made traffic pick up significantly.
But are the banks being a little bit more flexible right now?
I've been calling banks,
as far
just
as lending.
Like even for I don't think the lending is necessarily the problem. It's the interest rate at the price point. So it's one thing.
Yeah, that's true.
It's one thing for something to be $400,000 when it's 4% interest.
Right.
But if that now is 7% interest, it costs so much more. And people can only afford what people can afford.
Right.
And if you add, is anyone happy at the grocery store? I threw a tantrum about Canada Dry ginger ale. So the big guy at home likes Canada Dry ginger ale, or he likes any ginger ale, and I always buy it for him. And it was $7.79. 3 years ago, and I wrote a cookbook, and I have all my receipts for things. A little more than 3 years ago, it was 2 for $5. So I could get a 12-pack for $2.50.
Yes.
So I did not buy him ginger ale. Now I will break down and buy him ginger ale a different day.
If you go to Shaw's, a 12-pack of soda is $9.99. So
to me, things are 400% more than they cost just 3 years ago. My income didn't go up 4%, 400%, and most people's didn't. So they're not saving money to put down on homes. Their savings are being eaten up. Their credit card balances are going up, and that's what's also affecting affordability.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Do you know, right after the storm, so I always will buy an 18-pack of eggs, and during COVID, the price of eggs went up, and then we had the whole chicken thing, and eggs were scarce and whatever. So then they all started coming back down, and so I usually pay pay around $4 for an 18-pack of eggs. Probably not even. It was like maybe Market Basket like $3.54 or something like that. I went in the other day right after the storm in Florida, right after the hurricane in Florida, and I'm like, they were It was 18 for $6.80 something. It was almost $7 for it, and I'm like, wow, just like in a little bit over weeks. And it made me think, was it because of the storm? Now the price why the prices go up like that?
Right, and I think it's just them taking advantage. I think the price of things, when inflation affects everything, so it affects the gas that it takes, the trucks to like when people were saying, oh, everyone should make $18 an hour,
right?
It comes from somewhere. And I'm not saying everyone shouldn't make $18 an hour, but guess what? Everything is more expensive now because even the most unskilled worker has to make. It used to be that those jobs were for teenagers, kids who weren't paying for homes on those jobs.
Right.
They were jobs we had while we were in school and doing all of that other stuff, or people who were retired would go back in. They weren't expected to be, you raise a family of 4 on this job.
Right.
But that's what we have, that's what a lot of people actually have to do. But when you are taking, and if not that person is saving to buy a house, but over the last year, and the funny thing was, I did not buy the ginger ale. And in my head, I'm like, my poor spouse, I can afford the $7. It's this moment. Yes. It's right in the store. you're getting me on the dishwash. I paid $8 for Cascade dishwashing liquid.
Yeah.
There were so many things, and I was just like, I'm not doing it today. I'm not doing it. I didn't buy myself seltzer water. I didn't buy him ginger. I didn't because normally every few weeks I stock up on that stuff, and I was like, I'm not, and I'll get over it, and I will come back and I will buy it. But I think we're all sort of. Our wallets are tired. We're fatigued. Our wallets are financially fatigued. Our credit cards are fatigued.
Yeah.
So when you add the basics, housing and food and gas to get us to and from our job, and car repairs, and the cost of cars in COVID, I think we're just all really worn out. And I think that is, and then you have uncertainty.
We've been overpaying so much. And I think it's funny, like even after COVID, the dollar store, because I go and get my readers in there because, I break them and lose them. And so to me, I don't need them as often. So I have one decent pair that I use for reading, and then everything else I have, laying everywhere else. That and batteries.
Yeah.
Because I don't care. You burn through the batteries, and they're $1. I'm like walking in, and I'm like, oh, everything's $1.25 now.
Mm-hmm.
And now they have different things that are. So I was checking out the batteries, and she's like, oh, these are the premium batteries. Just want you to know that these are $3.25. I was like, oh, okay. But still better than paying for
$18 for batteries at the store. Yeah, so I think that is playing out, and that's where I get into. When I talk to people and they tell me they're going to buy this property for this much money because they're just going to raise the rent, I say, and this is also why I'm not selling more property, I'm sort of talking them out of the idea that for the last 4 years, people have just been raising the rent to whatever covers their new purchase price.
Yeah.
But at some point, that's not going to work.
Right.
Because I understand there's no other housing, but people are just not going to be able to afford the rent.
Right.
And then what happens? You're going to kick them out. And they're going to be part of
and your place is going to sit empty, and you're not going to make any money.
Or you're going to get another person who pays 2 months, and then that is not a business plan for owning rental real estate.
Right.
You need stability. You need long-term payment and stability and no turnover. That's how you make money in real estate investing. So there's the part of me that there was this really good deal pop up, and I texted my client and he didn't respond to me in an hour, and I'm like, you're going to see this. Because, and then he was like, wow, this is going to be a really good deal, and I don't have to max out what and it's like, but those are hard to find. So that's why for me, but every once in a while, when you do get something like in a terrible market that no one can afford anything, and that when you do get it, it's even that much more satisfying.
Yeah.
And then that brings a little bit of the fun back.
And it's like, this is what it's supposed to be about. This is what life is supposed to be about.
Yes. And when I go into, when I think about, like we were talking in this little passage about desires, what do you desire? What do you desire for yourself? Exclusive of ginger ale. $7.79 says ginger ale. I want to, and it was so funny because when I came home, I'm like, we don't need to pay that much money for high fructose corn syrup. It's very bad for us anyways. We should buy that real cheap because it's really bad.
No ginger ale for you.
I'm going to buy ginger ale later, I promise. I feel so bad, but sometimes.
You better come on with it today. It was sitting on the counter with a little bow.
Happy birthday. Merry Christmas.
I was in my, I had a bad mood.
I threw a supermarket temper
I was
tantrum.
protesting the grocery store.
I was protesting this raping. Everything feels like bend over.
Yes.
Oh, bend over and wring yourself out and pack up your own, I was just in a mood.
Yes.
I was in a mood because I'm going to have to wring myself out of this overpriced nonsense.
So, okay, here's a funny story. So yesterday, I didn't feel good. My body ached. I ran into Walmart because it's literally like 3 miles down the road. And I'm like, I don't have to do stoplights and all that stuff. I can take the little back road, get in, get out. I just needed sub rolls. Anyway. So I go and pick up a couple of other things at Walmart, and I got a candle, and I'm like, oh, that smells good. I'm going to do fall and just try to change my
mood. Since I'm shopping, let me do retail therapy.
So I finally get over to the bread aisle, and there is not one sub roll on the shelf.
Wow.
And the other thing that makes me upset is these, the people that shop for, they have the big carts, and they are shopping for pickup or delivery or however it is. They are so rude. They will cut right in front of you and push you out of the way. And I'm like, man, Anyway, so I'm disgruntled, and now it means I have to go to Shaw's. And Shaw's and I have a very love-hate relationship. So I walk in, and I see they have like avocados, and they have fresh pico and stuff like that they've made from the deli, and they have a medium queso. And the other night I made what I call it, fuego chimichangas. So I took the chicken and the jalapenos, I cut them up and I wrapped them in my burrito and I fried them. But you're supposed to use, like, you can drizzle your cheese, the queso on it in Market Basket from their deli department. Like, I don't know if they make it or anything, but it comes like in your. So I was like, oh, that looks kind of good. I'll try that too. So I know he likes it, so I'll get that. And I'll do something with queso. Anyway, so I picked that up, and I'm like, oh, they have Pringles, the sour cream, the hot sour cream ones. So I'm like, oh, I got to get those. Then I get over there, I get the my bread. I feel like there might have been something else I got. It was $45. And I literally have one bag of groceries, and I'm like, okay, I have nothing to make a meal with unless I want to eat cheese bread.
Which I may
cheese
do.
bread and some chips.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
So then I was like, it's $6.99 for the queso. And I'm like, oh, it's a little tiny tub.
Yeah.
If I had known the price then, I was like, but I'd already scanned it, and I'm at the self-checkout. And I'm like, no, I am not calling a worker over here.
So this self-checkout is such an affront to me that I want an employee discount.
Yes,
if I'm bringing myself through, I want 20% off.
And you know what I think is offensive? If the guy at Walmart, they're sitting at the door and like they're going to check my receipt. What are you looking for? You literally just saw me at the self-checkout. And I feel like I will go all the way to the other side and go out the other door, because some of them, they don't even, I don't know.
So the thing is,
feel
if
like
you're afraid of theft, you should ring us out.
Yes. Yes.
Because the other thing that upsets me is there's 4 different people standing while they're chatting while I'm ringing myself out.
Yes. Yes.
I could be on the news.
Yes.
I lose my mind so much. Why am I working? There's 4 of you. You're all standing around in case someone needs help.
Yes.
You should be ringing us out.
Yes.
Like that really, I want an employee discount.
Now, if you pull on the side where the pickup is, I cut through the parking. There's a parking lot you can cut through, so you can miss the light. But you come in where all the I don't know. I think the employees do a lot of breaks there. There were 8 people out there just hanging out.
So
they're laughing and having a great time.
I was at Home Depot, and the woman's like, "There's 4 self-checkout registers open," and I just yelled, "I don't work here." It was because I was in a mood. And she was like, "Come on." I'm like, "I don't work here," and she's like, "I'll ring you out." Like, but she probably didn't want to say that out loud.
Yes.
You know. And so I reluctantly brought my stuff over.
Thank you.
But I have such a bad attitude about it.
But I also think that customer service totally sucks. People don't, so I got this because my other one broke, and I'm like, where do they have eyeglass cases? So, when you walk into Walmart,
so what are our desires?
The aisle.
Could we be checked out again at the store? Desire number 1.
Yes.
And can you not be mad at us that you're doing it? Desire number 2.
Right. I know.
The 2 ladies in the turret want to know, do they have to work at the supermarket still? And I love when they tell me I didn't scan something properly. I'm like, did I miss the training? Did I miss the training? Was that on Saturday night when I had other things to do?
I hate when you have to look your vegetables up. Why do you put all those darn stickers on it anyway? You get an avocado and it's got 6 of those little tiny barcode stickers on it, or it's on your tomato. And like, why do you need 3 stickers on it? And it doesn't. What's the barcode for? I can't ring it up.
I know. It's where we desire to go back to the pre-COVID times where people worked at the store, and we didn't work at all the stores. We have jobs.
Well, companies
we have jobs.
Yes,
we have jobs. We don't need.
Yes.
We didn't not getting paid for this job. I don't have a vest. I don't have a smock. I didn't go through the training.
Yes.
I don't want to work here.
Yes. While we're on a rant, Home Goods, Marshalls, and TJ Maxx, they push you for like, hey, would you like to sign up and save 20% today with my card? Blah 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 blah. I always say no, thank you. One day, and I said to her, no, I have Amex. I get 5 times the points. And that did shut her up. But the minute you say no, no matter how you say it, literally, my son was standing there and he's like, I think she was trying to strong arm you. She asked me like 6 different ways. And I kept saying, no, thank you. No, thank you. Finally, I was like, no, I get more points on my Amex.
And was she mean to you?
So then I had to use. Yeah, she was rude. But so every time now, like they don't even say thank you. They don't say thank you, have a great day. They don't even hand me my receipt. She just shoves it in the bag and slides it across. And I was like, damn, I feel dirty. I feel like a dirty interaction. Like corporations don't. I feel like we were just doing some kind of a bad deal. Like everything was good until I said, no, I don't want your card. I don't want to save 20% today.
I felt like a dirty transaction.
I want you to just rate me more.
What is this, like some prostitute event that you don't even thank me that I come and drop money in here? Like,
right. Isn't it not enough that I'm already spending $100? Like and I'm saying, no, thank you. You can have my $100. I don't want a discount. Just don't harass me. But I've watched it like every single time. And I happened to mention something.
They must be getting, the employees must be getting harangued from corporate that you better turn around and get these credit cards pushed. They must be being measured on it.
Yeah. Well, so American Eagle, they actually have a great system to do it. And they don't, my daughter was working there in the summer a couple of years ago, and their reward programs, like she was always getting rewards for, and there was no pressure. There's no harassment. There's no, like, so they do give an incentive to the employees to ask for it, but never was there like a rude altercation with it or anything. And I'm like, wow.
Words didn't go down afterwards.
I know. It doesn't matter that I'm handing you money. Now you're still going to be rude to me because I said no on your credit card? Like, just corporations. Anyway, we could do that all day.
I know, but we do have the desire to go back to where we didn't wring ourselves out.
Yes.
That ginger ale didn't cost $8. You know, I just think everyone's fatigued. And I joke around that we should all get together and on one day, you know, no one go to the store, no one buy anything, no one, just have it be like empty hallways of just where we've had enough.
Do you remember we put out there like gas strikes, like, hey, nobody buy gas. Everybody fill up now and don't buy gas for.
And then there's the business person in me that there are small businesses. So someone was saying, he was a politician. They were talking about small business. And the way they were talking about small businesses, I was like, I don't think they understand what small business is.
Yeah.
You know, we have restaurants have been corporatized. Food has been corporatized. There's so many things that are just corporate now, right? And we used to have the little mom and pop shops, but all of the biggest stores, the box stores, they beat them out. And the point was for us to use volume pricing to give us, that was the explanation, but you're going to get volume pricing and it's going to be so much cheaper. And now we just have less groups making things more expensive. That wasn't, the exact point of that. But, I feel for the small businesses because they're being squeezed from every angle.
Yeah.
You know, their tax structure's being squeezed. Their shipping costs are being squeezed. It's very hard to be a small business owner, nowadays. And I don't know how I think it's time for some kind of change. I don't think we can all continue this very much longer. There has to be some kind of economic change. I think we need to do some smarter economic policies. And
I think pressure needs to be released. It's just building and, I think, we just get dumped on, like, here, take this, we'll raise your taxes, we will, I'm going to spend stupid money to go print out these flyers and go lay 8 of them in the, creeping up on my house and laying them at my door.
I'm sure they have to spend those millions of dollars that they're getting from donors.
Yeah. Well, spend it on, like, feeding a community or, that's, dude, come show up and, donate food and create
Winn-Dixie, the supermarket in Florida, they went out and fed and donated water in the hurricane to businesses that were coming to clean up their business. That's stuff. And so I saw that they posted that. They said, the second that the evacuation got called off, they all went, and then they, instead of making people come to their store, they went out in employees
Right.
and vehicles and stuff and
Well,
did
it's
all
kind
that.
of like
That was really
You could,
nice.
instead of printing the money for your brochures and all the signs that are, you
Mhm.
know, how much money is spent on that, where you could take that money and actually, instead of talking about it and printing it out on words, you could actually be about it.
But most of them aren't going to do that thing.
Go
that
down
they're
to the
promising.
park the day, go give vouchers out for, give coupons out, like give a free meal or a $5 gift card, even a $5 gift card for some grocery store or something like that.
Yeah. I wonder if that's like a bribery thing. Would that be considered bribes?
I don't know. What if you brought food, vegetables, or
Yeah.
something, or
And you know what's really funny?
just saying there's got to be a way that you can give back to the community and
Well,
get
they-
your name out there and be like, oh,
they
hey.
spend a ton of money on smear campaigns
Yes.
and various things. I just think the money could. Can we go back to where you talked about the points
Right.
of what you were standing on? Can you stand on something?
Right.
Not be the opposite of another, but can you just stand on something?
Right. Talk about what you stand for instead of how, your partner, the person that you're running against is such a bad human being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Stop talking about it. Talk about you.
Yeah. I can't wait till this election cycle's over.
So I think that we all as a collective, we should desire a better quality of life.
Yes. And what do you desire for yourself? One of the things that harmony,
Yes.
which this whole entire show has not sounded like harmony.
I know.
I want more harmony.
Somebody's going to come here and take them off. Get them off the air. Growly bear.
Yeah. What are some of the things I want for myself? I want harmony because I want the people who are in my life, I want us all to, like an orchestra, do all of our parts to play a
Yes.
beautiful family and beautiful friendships.
Because I
and
think
stuff
if
like
you
that.
have harmony, then you have love, you have light, you have joy.
And you're working together, harmonic
Yes.
sounds.
Yes.
So I watched the movie Collateral because we were talking about movies
Yes.
last time. And there's a jazz scene. And I looked over at my spouse and went, are they playing the same song? It just sounds like they're all playing a different song. And maybe that's why I don't appreciate, and it was just movie jazz. So I don't know that they weren't playing,
Yeah.
special jazz, but real jazz maybe. But I was just like, this doesn't even sound and that's what I was thinking, like harmony. This doesn't even have any harmony
Yes.
together.
Yes.
That's what I want for us is
Yes.
harmony.
Yes.
Um,
Curiosity.
I have curiosity in spades though.
You should read that other one too. That
All
was
right.
good.
So I will read one other one to you. Oh, we didn't even finish this one, I don't think.
all right. Finish that one. But I want to make time because that one was good too.
Yeah, it said, because we ended on, otherwise you'll be a child who sometimes pretends he or she is a wrestler, a soldier, a musician, or an actor. Unless we give ourselves over to our endeavors, we are a hollow super. Oh, I already said that part. We all know people like monkeys mimic whatever seems novel and flashy at the moment. But then their enthusiasm and efforts wane. They drop their projects as soon as they become too familiar or too demanding. A half-hearted spirit has no power. Tentative efforts lead to tentative outcomes. Average people enter into their endeavors headlong without care. Perhaps they meet with an exemplary figure and become inspired to excel. It is all well and good to do this, but consider first the real nature of your aspirations and measure them against your capabilities. Be honest with yourself. Clearly assess your strengths and weaknesses. Do you have what it takes to compete at this time? To be a wrestler, for example, requires extraordinary strength in one's shoulders, back, and thighs. Do you have physical prowess and agility to be among the best of the sport? It is one thing to be a champion or to do something skillfully. It isn't actually another to do it and do it with consummate skill. Different people are made for different things. Just as certain capacities are required for success in a particular area, so too are certain sacrifices required. If you wish to become proficient in the art of living with wisdom, do you think that you can eat and drink to excess? Do you think you can continue to succumb to anger and your usual habits of frustration and unhappiness? So that was another one that kind of makes me stop. Do you succumb to anger and your usual habits of frustration and happiness? I think disillusionment and disappointment kind of are a habit. Ever since COVID, it seems like
I think it's even before COVID, but
even
I
like
think
to blame
that's actually,
COVID for
I think that's the majority of the world is that's your resting place
that's
in
your
negative energy,
Yep.
in a low vibration.
So if true wisdom is your object and you are sincere, you will have to work to do it on yourself. You will need to overcome many unhealthy cravings and knee-jerk reactions. You will have to reconsider whom you associate with. Are your friends and associates worthy people? Does their influence, their habits, values, and behavior elevate you or reinforce the slovenly habits from which you seek escape? The life of wisdom, I like the word slovenly.
Slovenly, I like that too. It's kind of like what I've been saying. You're either a faucet or a drain.
Yep. Yep, but slovenly, I think
Slovenly.
I don't want anyone to say that about my outfit.
Me either. I really didn't want to wear these shoes today, but it was the only one I could get on my feet today. So
Yeah.
I was like,
Otherwise, I'll be a big slovenly person. The life of wisdom, like anything else, demands its price. You may, in following it, be ridiculed and even end up with the worst of everything in all parts of your public life, including your career, your social standing, and your legitimate position in the courts. Once you have given due consideration to all of your constituent details that compose the effort to live a higher life, venture forth with your utmost effort. Ooh, effort, that's another word. Make the necessary sacrifices that are the price for the worthiest of goals: freedom, even-mindedness, and tranquility. If, however, upon honestly appraising your mettle, you are not fit or ready, free yourself from the delusion and tread a different, more realistic road. If you try to be something you're not, or strive for something completely beyond your present capabilities, you end up as a dabbler, first trying to be a wise person, then a bureaucrat, then a politician, then a civic leader. These roles are not consistent. You can't be flying off in countless directions, no matter how appealing they are, and at the same time live an integrated, fruitful life. You can only be one person.
well, I think about it, yeah, and who you are and how are you showing up in the world. Like, what are your thoughts when you're driving down the road, when you're driving to work in the morning, or when you're at work? Do you focus on do you focus on joy? Do you focus on good things, or do you focus on the stresses? Like on your way home, what do you focus on? Are you actively choosing to fill it? Like, hey, I feel like a kid sometimes when I'm like on my way home, or I would get out of work and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's such a nice day. I get to do this. Like, you shut the light switch off. You have to. And people are like, well, I can't do that. You have to. You can't tell me that you have to do that. People that deal on in hospice, people that are watching in the hospitals that are dying every day, you tell me that doctors can't learn how to shut that stuff down. They have to. Firemen, police officers, everybody that's in service that sees trauma on the road. And yes, you can. If they can do it, you can too. Just because you have a sucky boss doesn't mean your sucky boss has to join you at the dinner table.
Right.
So what do you do? Like, what are the things are you actively starting to do to say, like, once you get in the car, are you saying, you know what, tonight I'm going to do this. Tonight or what do you start looking forward to? Like, so what's in your mind? What are the thoughts that are you, because that's how you're showing up.
Yep. So it says you can only be one person, either a good person or a bad person. You have two essential choices. Either you can set yourself up to develop your reason, cleaving to truth, or you can hanker after externals. The choice is yours and yours alone. You can either put your skills towards internal work or lose yourself to externals, which is to say, be a person of wisdom or follow the common way of the mediocre.
So it's funny, I have my notebook open and I wrote down the importance of cultivating positive emotional states creates a life that aligns with your wishes and your aspirations, with your dreams. It's kind of just what I was just saying and what that was just saying. You have to actively choose it. You have to actively choose. I'm not going to be a negative person, or I'm not going to carry this anger. I'm not going to do this. I'm
not going to throw a tantrum at the
or
supermarket.
I'm going to, you act cultivating. I like that because you actually have to grow it. You have to nurture it inside of you. And a lot of times we get angry because we're expecting the rest of the outside world like to make me happy. And no, it all has to come from inside.
And I do think we live a somewhat comfortable life that any discomfort becomes too
Yes.
uncomfortable.
Yes. Yes.
So the second one you wanted me to read was
Oh, yes.
avoid most popular entertainment. Now this was written literally in the Roman times. So when they talk about legitimate entertainment, it was
Orgies. Probably.
probably orgies. What's the other one where the guy dies in the middle? Is
The fighting. The
yes.
What do you call that?
Oh, look it up. We have Google. Hold
Well,
on.
it's the whole reason the Colosseum existed.
Yes.
Is it not medieval fights?
I put roaming fighting. What came out?
The Hunger Games.
What was the Roman style of fighting? Gladiators.
Oh, yes,
gladiators.
gladiators.
It said scutum, gladius and scutum, and so I almost said scrotum. Because I was like, that can't
Scrotum
be right.
fighting.
The part of my part of my mind that was skim reading,
Yes.
and I saw that and I was like, scrotum. That can't be right.
Squirrel.
It's not right. It's not right, guys.
yes.
It is not scrotum. But speaking of scrotum, porn is something that's readily available on the internet all the time, so it's very easily accessible. So we can think about that. That's popular entertainment for
Yes.
today.
Yes, there you go.
versus the gladiator fights of the
Yes.
past.
Yes.
Most of what passes for legitimate entertainment is inferior or foolish and only caters to or exploits people's weaknesses. Avoid being one of the mob who indulges in such pastimes. Your life is too short and you have important things to do. Be discriminating about what images and ideas you permit into your mind. If you yourself don't choose what thoughts and images you expose yourself to, somebody else will, and their motives may not be the highest. It is the easiest thing in the world to slide imperceptibly into vulgarities. But there's no need for that to happen if you determine not to waste your time and attention on mindless pap.
I like it. It kind of goes back to what we were just talking about, being actively.
And it was going back to me shutting off YouTube because I'm not watching another political ad.
So you have a jerk for a boss and you're going to bring him to the dinner table if you don't actively cultivate a different environment or a different mindset for yourself. It's like that you're allowing him to dictate. You're allowing negative energy, or even like,
What is that saying? They live rent free in your mind. You've heard that phrase?
Yes.
I really like that because when people take up a lot of mental space and you don't want them to, you think, are they paying to be here? Like,
yes.
you don't get
I'm
access
gonna look
to
it up
that
'cause
part.
that is a good one.
I like that phrase a lot.
What does it say? Renting space.
Rent free in your mind, I think is the saying. I just also thought scrotum, so that's a quick read of that.
Don't let someone live rent free in your head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like that phrase because
That's
that can make me, you don't belong here. That's a price to pay to be inside my mind. My mind, think of your mind as a palace.
Right.
You got your mind palace.
So if you're not controlling it, then you're renting out space. So here's some tips for preventing things. We already know that. Talk to someone. In that way, you find a way to let it go.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's you talk about it out loud on the way home on the car.
And if you can't let it go, because I'm a terrible letter goer, put it down for now.
Yeah.
Just lay it down for now. Just stop. Just put it down for the moment. You can pick it up later.
Yes.
Because I think there is so much of holding on to things. Go back into the sobriety. We started this conversation on so many different things.
Mm-hmm.
But, if you wanted to try Sober October and by the 5th you started drinking, here it is the 17th. Pick it up again. Lay it down for another 2 weeks. Give it a you don't have to lay it down permanently. You don't have to give it up.
One of the most beautiful gifts that we've got? We have another 24 hours, hopefully.
Yep.
So go day by day. Like when laying it down. Okay, well, that didn't work. So, but you know what? Today's the day I'm going to try.
Yeah, put it down. You can pick it up tomorrow.
Yeah. Somebody says don't listen. They also don't listen to negativity and focus on what you want. Being intentional, creating what I want. What do I want to feel? What kind of evening do I want to have? What kind of,
mood do I want to be in?
Yes. I feel like a lot of times people expect you to be, I don't know how I want to say it. Like, people expect you to give love, and they want to be loved by you. and they want you to do certain things. They want to be accepted by you. They want to be loved by you, but they're not willing to do it themselves. They're not willing to do it for themselves. So they can't do it for themselves. They can't do it for you. You know what I mean? And like it's like there's this expectation. Well, you're not performing for me. You're not doing anything.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem when people have love is the easiest one, whether it's sibling love, parent love, children love. Like there's this expectation instead of what actually really is.
Right.
And if the expectation is that, you know, your sister's going to be on your side no matter what, and she's not on your side, now you're angry at your sister.
Right.
But and then maybe maybe that's a good expectation. Maybe you want this person who you've been raised with to see your side and to be on your side, you know.
Well, but
but at the same time, if they're never on your side when you want them to be, maybe you have to evaluate what expectation you put on your sister. Maybe they're not capable of that, and maybe you should adjust your expectations that you stop expecting that from them. And then what does that say? What does that do to the relationship? Maybe the relationship becomes Christmas cards.
Yeah. But it's also, you know, sometimes we have expectations of our partners, our spouses. And, you know, I had a bad day. I had a long day at work. I had a bad day. And, you know, I'm wanting to, you know, unwind, and they get upset, you know, because if your dinner's not made or you're not in the right, you know, you're not greeting them in the way that they feel loved.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, are we willing to stop and ask ourselves, what am I bringing to the table?
Mm-hmm.
I am having an expectation that you're supposed to make it better for me. I'm home now, so you're supposed to be, you know, you're not supposed to have a bad day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think we do these little tiny things all the time. I think we even do it to our kids. And, you know, one of the things, you know, we had an expectation, like one year my daughter was 12 and Justice was a big, you know, girly store for, you know, over the top. They had a lot of peace symbols and all that stuff. I don't even know if it's still in business, but I got her one year for Christmas. For every year for Christmas Eve, we always do pajamas. And they had these little peace signs over it, but they had this little flare leg ruffle at the bottom on the cuff, on the both cuffs, the arms and the legs. I was like, that is so cute. Well, who knew? She opened it up and she was like, how could you? And goes screaming out of the door. I didn't know she was like, that's too little girly. I was just thinking, oh my God. I mean, she came back and apologized for the initial. And at first I got really upset because I was like, wow, you're so ungrateful. And but I also could like, I was like, wow, I thought they were cute. But just seeing her reaction, it shocked me enough. And I was like, oh, okay. So we might have a little bit of hormones kicking in. Like I'm not a little girl anymore. But I was able to go back and I'm like, sweetheart, it's okay. We can go back but it's Christmas Eve. I can't make it better. And I'm like, so I let her go do this rant. But it's funny how that's silly, but we both had this expectation. Like my feelings got hurt, but I was able, thank God, you know, to be a big girl and say, you know, it's okay. You know, she's probably going through her phase, you know, but then she was like, had that expectation of like, you should have known better. You know, you should have known better. But so like we all do it, not just for our spouses, but how many times do we bring that to
even our expectation of ourselves? Like you expect yourself to paint,
yes,
Dali style paintings.
Yes,
first go around.
Yes. I would like to. I know it's never going to happen. I actually might try it this afternoon because that might be a good, relaxing, calm.
Yeah, but you don't. It sounds like you put so much pressure on yourself. Painting might not be relaxing to you.
Force it,
right?
Well, so one day I had it all set up in my living room, and it was a beautiful day. And I'm like, I'm going to go outside, just sit in the sun. So I sat on the front porch, and I brought I had a canvas that I had painted over, and I was practicing waves and clouds. Like, I'm just going to focus on that. I'm just going to focus on doing that. And that was kind of fun, and allowing myself to be like, I watch her technique, and she just like does this. And I'm like, I do that. And it's like, there's a club of white over here, and it's too thin there. And now I've smeared that here. And
Yeah.
like finger painting. But when I actually just allowed myself to explore, like, all right, what happens if I do that blob, and how do I drag it out, and how do I do this?
How do different brushes work? How do different
yes,
if
and
I
just
add more
allow
paint?
myself to
Yeah.
experiment. And I'm like, boy, yeah,
Yeah, and I say this as the person who, if I don't make something fabulous for dinner, I throw a tantrum because I know how to cook and I should always know how to cook and everything should be amazing. Instead of like, well, the tomatoes didn't taste like anything.
yeah,
Or,
I am like that.
you know, but when there's almost more expectation. If we could give ourselves the beginner mind for everything. I heard an awesome interview with this doctor who was a family psychologist. He'd been practicing for 30 years, and he changed entirely the way he did something because it wasn't working. So he had to go back to say, if it's not working, then it's not therapy.
Right,
And try something totally different.
right.
And one of the things he was saying is when you're in a fight with somebody else, you turn to yourself and say, what part of me is upset? And ask it, why are you upset? What is this triggering for you?
That's a good one.
Yeah,
I'm going to write that down. What part of me is upset?
because the other thing he said to say, if you're arguing with someone and say you and I are in a fight and I say, I feel like whatever, or you can say a part of me feels. Because if I say to you, you know, I feel angry because you did whatever, you're going to hear that totally different than
Yeah.
a part of me is angry because.
Yes.
And a part is such a beautiful distinction to you are not all of these things. And we are not anything. We're not all of any one thing. And
Right,
we
right.
are, you know, we all are so special, and then we're all just like everybody else.
Yes.
You know, when I said something the other day, someone said, well, why do you think that would be a good idea? I'm like, because I'm not special.
Well, I think we
can't
always
be
are
the only
balancing
one.
between extraordinarily beautiful to absolutely rotten.
Right. And we all have the beautiful and ugly within us.
We're just all on a scale.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, before we wrap up, when we ask ourselves, like, why we have these expectations of people, but we also have those, I think we're hardest on ourselves.
Yeah.
And you can't have an expectation on that person if you don't have that same expectation on yourself. And like, then do you get frustrated because I'm not meeting my own standard? Or I'm not meeting my own expectation. I'm falling to my standard.
Yeah. That's a good question.
Because you can't expect something. You can, I guess. I find the more that I self-reflect is I can't expect. The reason I have an expectation of somebody is because I have that expectation of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we pause and think about that. Like, oh,
Yeah. Who's disappointing who here? And
Right.
What is really going on?
right.
So all good questions.
Yeah.
All really good questions. Well, we hope you have a fantastic week. And join us next Thursday, every Thursday, 10 a.m. to noon Eastern Standard Time on WSMN, 1590 AM, 95.3 FM, and on WSMN.live, as well as Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify. Please follow us, subscribe, like, and all of that good things.
Yes.
We will see you next week.
And look up at that beautiful, beautiful blue sky and check out those gorgeous colors. It's a beautiful day today.
WSMN 95.3 FM.